Welcome back to another episode of Paranormal Unveiling with your host, psychic medium, and lead investigator for the Paranormal Science Investigators team, Josh. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show while we talk about pretty much whatever the hell we want, as long as it's weird, true, creepy, controversial, or informative about the paranormal. So follow me as I try to give you a peek behind the veil. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Paranormal Unveiling. I'm your host, Josh, and today I've got some really cool guests with me. This is actually my sister and her boyfriend, and they are Luna Paranormal. Say hello, Luna Paranormal.
Hey, how's it
Hi.
going? Hi, guys. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Hey, I'm glad to have you here. I'm really excited to get to talk to you guys on this episode. For those of you who don't know, this is Lizzie from Luna Paranormal, and this is her boyfriend, Nolan, from Luna Paranormal. They are doing stuff together that if you haven't seen their YouTube, Finding Unknown, you need to go check it out, okay? They put all of their investigations on there, the two of them together. Great team doing some cool stuff in some cool places. So check out Finding Unknown on YouTube. And you also have a tarot business that you do on TikTok. So
I do.
if you don't know, you can find, what's the actual account name? It's
Luna Mystic Tarot
on
on
TikTok.
TikTok.
Okay. And you have anything else that you have an Instagram too, I believe, don't you?
Yeah, I do have an Instagram. It's under Spooky Luna, and a podcast as well, Spooky Luna's podcast. But you can find all of that on my main website, www.lunaparanormal.com. That's LUNA paranormal.com. And it's all there, all of the links.
Right. Awesome. So first thing I want to ask you is, how did Luna Paranormal begin?
Oh boy. I love telling the story. It is long. So if you guys want to hear the full long-winded story, you can go to my podcast, the first season of the first episode, Voice of Luna Paranormal. But basically me and a friend, Katie, she asked me to go to a place called Casadega, Florida. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a spiritualist camp in the middle of Florida. And if you guys don't know what a spiritualist camp is, it's basically people with abilities, mediumship, psychic abilities that live in this quote unquote village, but it's not really a village. It's more like, a few blocks. And they do all sorts of different spiritual things. It had a creepy hotel. I said, yeah, let's go. And so we just spur of the moment went to Casadega, Florida, and I fell in love. Like, I did not want to leave. I wasn't going to leave, but she signed us up for a Reiki class. She signed us up for a psychic mediumship class. And at this time, I had no idea I was a psychic medium. I had not even the slightest clue that I had abilities. And we went into this class and they tested the psychic part of the abilities. And I was okay at it. And then they tested the mediumship abilities. And I was terrified to go into this because I'm like, I don't have any experience. I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, well, this is how you learn. You just get thrown into it. And I'm like, okay, so we went in and there were three people all together, me and two other people, and they did their mediumship reading, and a lot of them were quite spot on. But then I moved on to read these other two, and as I was reading them, I was like getting every single loved person on the other side, like what they did, their personalities, everything down to how they did this with their watch. And the girl's like crying. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean to make you cry. She goes, no, like, you really haven't been doing this. And I said, no, this is my first mediumship reading ever. And I guess we came out and the mentor of the class was just like, wow, you're a medium. Don't know if you knew this. And I said, I don't understand any of that. I don't understand what it means. And my friend and I, we talked about it over the weekend. She goes, you have to help people. You have to help people do this. And I said, I was like, nobody's going to want to listen to me. I'm a nobody. And she literally looked at me. She goes, girl, you won't know until you try. And so then a week later, I started Lunar Paranormal, which is what some of you, some of the OG fans know me as such. But then I changed the name a little later on. But yeah, I started it. And now I have a whole community of family and everybody. And yeah, so that's how it really started. I didn't find out till I was about 27, 28 years old.
Nice. Well, you've been had experiences your entire life that kind of led up to that point, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had experiences since I was a little girl, but the most that I could remember was when I was about 9 or 10 when my dad had cancer and I actually saw his death. And I had blamed myself for so many years thinking I caused his death to happen, but I never put two and two together that, hey, that was mediumship, that was psychic, that was, and after that I just kind of shunned away from it because there was always this weird stuff that would happen to me when I'd sleep at night. I'd see different entities, I'd be able to know things. I had really bad anxiety and panic attacks, and I just never knew what was wrong with me. But then when I went to Casadega, it just all clicked and I was like, oh my god, my whole life has been a lie. Like, I haven't had anxiety or panic attacks, I've just been a psychic medium. So
It
it
makes
was
sense.
a yeah, it's quite. But if you guys want to hear the full length story, it is on my podcast, the season 1, episode 1. But yeah, it was insane.
So let me also ask, because you have Nolan sitting there, Nolan has some intuition abilities too, does he not?
I believe so. We talked about this the other night. I believe so. I believe he's empathic, but I also believe he has some of the same abilities as me. I don't know how strong his abilities are, but I do know that he says things and then it'll happen, and he sees things too, and and even before we met, he had experiences in his childhood home seeing full-blown apparitions. So,
So, well, since we have Nolan here, Nolan, how do you feel about when people tell you? Because one of the things I picked up, because Lizzie and I talk, once in a while, and we happened to be talking about you one day. But what I picked up is you're similar to me as far as energetically, like connected to nature and stuff like that.
Definitely.
So, what do you think about your intuitive abilities? Like, what's your idea on how far you can connect with those abilities?
I'm not entirely sure what I'm able to do. For me, it's just life. Sorry.
Right.
Um,
Mutual.
I've been, I guess you call it a believer since I was really little. And like she said, I lived in two houses, and both of them had people there that weren't paying rent, type of thing. And and that's something too that the second house I lived in, I lived there from, I think we moved there when I was 9, and then my parents ended up selling it after I was in my 20s. And when I left, I graduated high school and I moved to another little town or city, I guess. And it was funny because my dad said it's going to be weird living here without you, and I'm the youngest and I'm his only son, type thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, you'll be okay. And he's like, no, this place is weird. I'm like, oh, I thought it was just the wind. I thought it was, just an old house settling. And heard stories about seeing the same stuff, the same apparitions. And that's something that's, I don't know, it's kind of in the family. I don't know. I've never really been around anyone like the community that you guys are.
Mhm.
So I don't know what I'm able to do or not able to do. I'm kind of in it, not 100%, but I'm in it a lot.
but
And
then also too, I tell him all the time, he's native. And that's just like, I feel like you're just born. It's in your blood to have spiritual gifts.
Right. I would agree, and I think that's what I picked up on was just that real natural connection to nature, which is similar to what I do. Can you give me an experience, Nolan, as a kid that maybe made you a believer in there's something after life?
um, there's a bunch. Like I remember the first winter after moving into this house, it had some property, and I had a motorcycle track, and my dad and I built a big shop and stuff like that. And I remember walking around up in our property with a kid from school, and it was snowing. It snowed up on that hill, more often than it did in the town that we live by. And he asked me when my dad came home from work. And I was like, we weren't even doing anything to be worried about it. Plus, I've never really had to worry about my dad. So I just kind of like, whatever. And then he asked again, and I was like, why? And then he points, and there's footprints in the snow behind us that are way bigger
Wow.
than ours. And I didn't really think much about that. I just like whatever. And I was like, maybe they're ours, and you put your foot down and it slides. But
Yeah.
it was definitely a third set. And a lot of things happened when I was little that I just kind of blew off because I didn't scare me, it wasn't traumatizing. But then once stuff started happening when I was older, it was like, oh, all the stuff starts kind of clicking together. And there's like a man's apparition in that house that I would see a bit. I have a buddy, and if you called him right now and said, tell me about this thing at Nolan's old house, he would probably need to take a second, and then he would tell you the same story. But long story short, we had one of those big L-shaped couches, and it's probably 14 or 15, and I'm on one end and he's on the other, and we're probably staying up watching Beavis and Butthead or whatever. And then I hear him say something like, man, you're already up, just grab me one, like get him something to drink or whatever. And then I looked over at him, because we're kind of head to head, and he looks back at me and then has this look on his face, and we both look up, and there's like a apparition of a man standing over us,
Wow.
shaking his head, like you told him a dirty joke that he wasn't really allowed to laugh at. And the one thing I remember most about that is not so much the guy and what he looked like, but all the way through the living room and into the kitchen, I couldn't tell what time it was, but I was able to see the light on a coffee maker. And I could see the light on the coffee maker through this person that was standing over us.
Oh,
And
wow.
also out in the country, I mean, we were a few miles out of town, and my parents weren't there. Another kind of tell that came up later was I realized my parents kind of encouraged me to invite people over if I was going to be staying there by myself. Not like, hey, party and then clean it up, but we
Right.
understand if you have 3 or 4 people over here. But I remember that, and also just not being scared. Like I wasn't like, holy crap, what's this guy doing in my house? It was more
Right.
like, whoa, and then takes off out the door and around the corner. And I'd seen him a handful of times since then, and I told my dad about it, and he's like, "Oh, that's cool," kind of shrugs it off. But then now, and I never told him what the guy looked like. And then when I was older, we started talking about it, and I was like, "What did you see?" He said, "I used to see this guy, and he was always sitting at the table because my dad gets up like 3 in the morning. But I was always sitting at the table, and he would get up and leave the room whenever I would come in to start making coffee or whatever. And I'd always just say, "Hey, you can chill here," and the guy would just take off. And that's just one little thing. So it's one thing to wonder if you're crazy. I've definitely had some serious head injuries and all that. So
Same.
constantly living in deja vu, like all day, every day is kind of like deja vu. But to have somebody else, that I trust, not only
Yeah.
say, I believe you, but this is what I saw. And he had like this type of jacket on and all that. It's like, holy crap, that's some real stuff. So when I met her, and she said, yeah, I do paranormal investigations. My first thought was, oh crap, dude. Really? Because I've seen TV shows, and
Right.
I don't like many. I don't, there's only a few I like because, after experiencing things, I mean, I appreciate the time and effort that people put into stuff, but I don't want to watch something for 45 minutes just to hear that your arm got cold. I can,
Right. Right.
I mean, sure. I mean, I don't
Understand.
want you to fake anything, but on the other hand, like if a glass moves or something, that's kind of what I'm in for. So, um, she told me what she did, and I have my own thing too. I have a print shop and all that stuff, and I can stay busy on my own. So I just figured, oh, she'll do her thing, I'll do mine. It'll be great. And then I went with her on a couple investigations, and I stayed out of it. But then also I'm used to kind of being behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm picky. Appreciate you letting this take 10 extra minutes so we can try and fix this, whatever, you know.
That's why all my shots look so good, guys.
Also,
Excellent
she
camera.
doesn't let me do any of the editing, and I'm hoping that after this road trip that we have, maybe before she throws the computer, she'll let me help her edit, because she
Yeah.
always says things like that, just there's no way. And then I'm thinking, there's a way. There's a button for it. You just have to do it 1,000 times and I will do it, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Listen, I'm going to tell you, having done evidence review and editing for many years of evidence review, she will, once you guys have this trip that's coming up, where we're actually going to be meeting up in Oklahoma.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think by the end of this trip, Nolan, she's going to relinquish
yeah,
some of that, because
Oh yeah.
it gets mind numbing to do
yeah.
sometimes. And then with
Mhm.
editing, sometimes you're just like, look, I just go, I need to go have a cup of tea and sit somewhere, and
Mm,
she'll trust me, she'll eventually
yeah.
say, look, I'm tired, go ahead, have at it.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have a good 11 investigations to edit, and
It's a
I don't
lot.
know if I want to do that all by myself.
So you
Yeah,
guys are taking,
we're leaving 9 days before we meet with you.
Yeah.
right, yeah, so you guys
I have a whole we're road tripping. I think we
Yeah.
might touch 14 states.
Yeah.
so you're taking what, three weeks or so, a month?
Yeah.
It's more like a month, 3 weeks
It's
off of work
yeah.
or off of my job, and I work 410, so luckily 3-day weekend on each side makes 40 hours off work better.
Right.
But yeah, we're gonna floss all the way down through Nevada and Arizona and New
Mhm.
Mexico and go see a bridge in Texas. And,
The Goatman's Bridge.
yeah,
Bridge.
Yeah.
Clown Motel,
Mhm.
If you go to
Virginia
Goatman's, go
City.
underneath Goatman's.
Underneath. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
not on top, underneath Goatman.
Underneath. Yep. Not a lot of people go underneath it.
Right, that's where you'll catch what you want to catch.
Right.
But yeah, so you guys are making a whole trip pretty much across America and back.
Yep.
For the
almost all the way. Yeah,
Almost. And then in the fall, we're hoping to go northern all the
right, so
way.
you're taking a
Yeah.
second trip, like you and
Yeah.
I were talking about this before.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
told
just gonna
everybody
say,
I wanted to travel. I want to do like paranormal investigations for a living, and I don't know how many people believe me, but I'm like I'm doing it. Like this is what I want to do, so it's happening this year.
right, we've been friends for quite a while now, so
Mhm.
I just want to say I'm very proud of you, and I'm proud that Nolan's getting into this too with you. But I'm very proud that you have basically turned life on its ear and said, look, I'm doing this. I don't care how much work it is. I don't care how hard I have to do work to get to it. I'm doing it. And you are, like,
Yeah.
you literally are going to make this your living.
Yeah.
And I'm
Thank
super
you.
proud of you for that. Super
Thank
proud.
you.
But so I'll get into the general questions. Nolan, you're how many investigations have you been on so far with Lizzie?
well, we counted a couple ago, over 10
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more than 10.
since August.
Yeah, because the first one was the cemetery,
Yeah,
and that doesn't
Right.
count. Kind of.
it didn't seem like it though, because
No.
it's fun for. I mean, I take it seriously, but it's fun.
Right.
I'm big into, let's go get an Airbnb with a clawfoot tub, or let's go someplace nice. And a lot of people think it's cute, but then, like the Delaney house, at work,
Yeah.
coworkers, what are you getting into this weekend? Oh, I'm gonna go stay at this house from the 1800s. Oh, that sounds cute. You taking your girl? Yeah. And then we're gonna sleep with infrared lights on us and all this shit around, But
Right.
yeah, we counted the other day, and I think it's like 10 or 12.
It's like 10 or 12, but now from when we started to now, he now watches a lot of the YouTube content creators with me and stuff, and he realizes how much of an art it is
Right.
from start to finish. There's a respect there. I'm not saying he didn't have that respect before, but to see it and the lighting and how much money goes into it and the mics and like this. And we had went to a mausoleum and the mic stopped working, and we had to go back and redo the whole investigation. So there's a whole love and work that goes into it that he appreciates that is very hard to find. So I'm very lucky to have him for sure.
Definitely. So some of the questions I have for you, I just want to make sure Nolan's been on enough investigations where he's had experiences and he can answer some of these with you. But so this question will be to both of you, and each one of you can answer independently. But what has been your favorite piece of evidence you have collected so far?
Ooh. You can't just ask me that.
Everybody wants to know that. What's the best piece of evidence that you've collected?
I think for me, and it's not, well, the answer, if it has to be collected, as in documented, and we could show you where it's at, it's not there. But when we were at a abandoned funeral home in Arizona, there was a lot of stuff that we experienced, and if it was captured or not wasn't exactly usable.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be great for a viewing experience, but definitely seen some stuff, and she saw an apparition, and then chased it down a flight of stairs into a basement in the dark. And then of course I'm chasing her with a camera, looking through the camera instead of looking where my feet are going. Luckily it didn't fall down the stairs. And we saw some stuff there, but it wasn't it was just busy. There was a handful of other people there, and so
the evidence was tainted.
Yeah, for viewing, to put it on YouTube, it would be more like B-roll, but then we didn't have like the main stuff. There's just constantly, we were running into each other and all that stuff, and there's always somebody talking over there. So we're just like, hey, this is an experience. But that for me was a big one of the bigger points. And then also, I guess it kind of didn't seal the deal with her, but she was pretty pumped that I followed her and that I didn't just stay there. It's like, well, you want me to film what you're doing? When I told you I'd help you, I meant that I would film what you were doing. And so, if you jump into a volcano,
it's like, for context, he was trying to get the blue light for the design that he made for the logo, because it glows at night and black light. And we were going down these stairs and I can't see worth a crap. And as we turn off the lights, I see this like shadow figure go like this outside and then go like this. And I was like, whoa. And then I just took off down towards it. And I think most people would be like, oh shit, and they would run the other way. Right. So I'm glad that he followed me. But yeah, it was for context. But I would have been really cool if we could have put that evidence up on YouTube, but it's just too tainted too, unfortunately.
But that's been your favorite thing that happened to you on an investigation?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen stuff move, and that's, to me, that's huge. I mean, a flashlight going off on command, and other equipment working well is awesome, but to see stuff move and to know that something else is doing it, that's pretty awesome. But it's just of course it happens, we're looking here and then we hear something, then we look at it, and then by the time you pan over, it's not doing it.
Right.
And then it's one thing to hear a noise, and sure, could it be a squirrel or something in the attic? But you hear a noise and it gets picked up, but then we're just two people and we don't have, sometimes we'll set up a few cameras, but it's always happening where we're not pointing the camera, which I think is fun, and for that, it's the experience. And like I told her, she's gotten, pretty into the YouTube lately.
Yeah.
And it's taking off. And then the way I look at it is, you just document the experiences that you have. And instead of looking at it like chasing numbers, if you just chase experiences, it's a good place, like a visual scrapbook.
Right.
So keep it that, but we'll eventually get to where we have more cameras and there's less
more evidence,
less slipping through the cracks.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the thing is, for me, investigations are more about my personal experience, right? So I can kind of understand how that would be. Sorry, I'm just shuffling some stuff over here so I can get to my questions easier. But so having the personal experience is kind of the to-do for me. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but capturing on camera is like the bonus. Having the experience is the that's the cake, you know.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep.
But I wanted to bring up, since you were talking about things moving, Lizzie and I actually did an emergency case in Indiana,
Yep.
Mhm.
of a home that had quite a bit going on, and a lot of it was outside around the house, but there were things going on in the house. Um, and while we were there, we visually saw a rocking chair start rocking, and nobody within 20
Nobody.
feet of the chair, it just started rocking for no reason, no explanation. We tried jumping on the floor to recreate, trying to get this thing. Um, what was it that you picked up when that happened, Lizzie?
Well, we just started cleansing the home, and they were, I mean, we just started. I think we started like 4 minutes prior to that. And I'm like off in my own la la land. And that's when Amber, the homeowner, says, "Oh, the chair's moving." And I pan over. I'm like, "Did you catch that?" Because I caught the last bit of it. It was, I think it was a warning. They were mad, they were irritated, because when you try to cleanse a home and their spirits, then this was negative energy. This wasn't positive energy. This wasn't just, a typical grandma grandfather spirit in the house. This was negative energy built between two native lands, and there's just a spiritual war happening. And when you force any negative energy out of its comfort zone and you're cleansing it, there's going to be repercussions. And I think that was a warning. That was a serious, hey, I can move this chair. If I can move this chair, guess what else I can do? And I took it as that, but we still continued on, which was good, but it was a warning in my mind. What about you? Do you think it was a warning?
So I took it less of a warning and more of acknowledging its presence, like showing us that it was there.
Yeah.
Um, when I was in the house, I didn't feel it didn't feel as negative, but it's hard because my experience is very physical with the things that I do, but it
Hmm.
felt like it was not happy, but it was going to show us that it was there.
Yeah.
And I almost took the chair moving as, I'm sitting here, I'm not going anywhere.
Probably that too.
I'm
Yeah.
not leaving. You can't make me leave,
Right.
which is obviously untrue, because after the cleansing that you performed while you were there, which I learned a lot from, by the way, um, that house was so much
Lighter.
cleaner, lighter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you could breathe in the house.
Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to bring that up because you happened to mention something about,
Yeah.
things moving, and I thought that was interesting. Also, with that case, we watched on camera a vase spin on a countertop and then pew,
Yeah.
right off, and like, this is not fake. Like,
No.
no explanation for it.
No. Especially after we saw that chair move, I know for sure that that was not doctored evidence.
Right, right. We saw boxes getting thrown, like a box
Hmm.
just flying off a shelf.
A dog being pushed
Right,
on
yeah.
camera.
Well, we
Yeah.
saw quite a few things
Yeah.
on camera, which was awesome. Obviously it's a private investigation, so you can't show everything. Some things are private, but uh,
Right.
I was blown away. Like when I
Yeah.
saw that vase move, I was like, look, I know how to fake stuff. I don't know
Yeah.
how you fake that,
You don't. It was
right?
crazy. It was absolutely crazy. My heart went out to that family, and I'm happy that they're doing good now.
Right, yeah. I don't know how much you keep up with her, but I talk to her every once in a while just to make
Yeah.
sure. But hey, so let me ask you, what has been your favorite location so far that you've investigated?
I would say, because Nolan wasn't with me on this one because we didn't know each other then, but St. Ignatius Hospital in Colfax, Washington. I was actually with Brett from Breakpoint
Okay, yeah.
Paranormal at the time. He doesn't really do paranormal stuff much anymore, but that was my absolute favorite. Besides freezing my butt off, it was insane. The energy there, the evidence that I got, and unfortunately, it was one of those investigations that did not come back with me because for some reason the spirits did not want to be recorded. None of my stuff was able to be used. But yeah, it was my absolute favorite, I would say. I would go back if it wasn't in the middle of winter.
Right, right, right. How about you, Nolan? So far, the investigations you've been on, what's been your favorite location?
I like the Delaney house.
Oh, okay.
And the cool part is it's barely 20 minutes from here, but it's just such an old house and so much is going on, and it's the type of place I'd want to live, uh haunted or not. I'd want to live there. I mean, you look out the window and it's just trees and property, and so it's super beautiful. And then on top of that, the experiences that we had, we kind of talked about it about, do we want to maybe go back to places. Of course, we were going to go back to the places that we've been to, but that's one that we need to try not to go back to too often, if we're going to investigate or at least record. But we talked about maybe doing it every December or something and just kind of making a anniversary type thing out of it. But that was my favorite place so far.
Cool. It is actually a cool place. Like, a lot of these places, you guys actually go to several places that nobody's investigated, which I find very interesting. We kind of get burnt out watching everybody going to, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Everybody's been there and recorded it. So when you get people that are actually recording at places that have not been investigated and they're getting stuff, I find it way more interesting. Now, I watch your videos on YouTube. You've got some really great investigations. One of the things that I did notice is you're a big fan of the Estes method.
Oh yeah.
And I've also noticed that Nolan has gotten very good at the Estes method.
Yeah, he shakes his head because he hates it.
Right.
I don't hate it. It's just go ahead.
Let me explain something. When you do the Estes method, for some reason, Nolan, when you're doing it, I feel it almost you can't. It's just so genuine, like it's movingly genuine. Which is why I love to see you do it. I mean, not that when Lizzie does it that I don't feel it's genuine either.
No, I suck at it. When he gets on it, it's like the spirits are singing. They love him, and it's like that method was made for him, and it's just it's strange. And we hear his name all the time during his method.
Yeah, you'll hear me say, "Oh shit," because they're like, "Oh, they're saying your name." One thing I don't know. I don't think it's so much an ability besides listening, but of course you guys both know there's more to it than that. But with me, I heard about the Estes method before I met her, but I didn't know what it's called. I haven't so much recently, but I've spent hours and hours in deprivation tanks and salt tank floating, and that's part of with the recovery from a really serious head injury. I got way into trying to get to the back of my mind and turning over all these stones and stuff that are back in there. And one of the things that came up that I saw, and it might have been, I don't know, it could have been from like the CIA or whatever, but I found an article where they were talking about using white noise to channel something while people are in a float tank. Mm-hmm. So I knew a little bit about it, but I'd never seen it. I've never saw it on a show or anything. I watch a lot of stuff with my mom. She's, I think, her biggest fan for sure. Right. And we watch, we always stay up late and watch scary movies together and all that. And watching, she's like, "Oh, there's this show on or a documentary about the Winchester House or this and that." And if I saw somebody do the Estes method on a show, my bullshit meter would already be at 10. So I think a lot of it, and I don't really watch myself on the videos. We definitely check them out to make sure that we didn't miss something huge or that the editing didn't get messed up. But I don't pay attention to myself so much. But I think a part of it is I wouldn't be involved in this if any of it was fake. I had one of my best friends from over 20 years asked me the other day. He gave me a bunch of wood for the van build. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "So is this stuff legit?" And I was like, "I wouldn't do it if it wasn't legit, It's not, for me, it's not like LARPing, Like I'm not gonna sleep with infrared cameras on me. I'm not going to drop a bunch of money to go stay in a haunted hotel when the other one has a hot tub, you know? But
Right.
for me, it's like, I think maybe the fact that maybe I listen differently and I'm able to kind of zone out.
Yeah, you're able to get in that
Um,
trance.
I have noticed that my eyes water every time I do it, like, pretty bad. And
Happens
wondering
to me
about
too.
that.
That
Yep.
happens
And
to me too.
Psychic ability for
the
sure.
thing when I say oh crap or whatever, like when it's my turn or when I need to do it, is because there's times when I'm just like interpreting, I'm just saying the word that's being said. I don't know what they're saying or whoever's talking on the outside, I don't know what they're saying. I just say what I hear. But then there's been a couple times where the spirit wasn't just using me to talk, but it was actually talking through me.
Yeah,
Like it was in my head.
like a
And
channeling.
then yeah, and I was like questioning, am I saying this or is it saying it through me? And there's time again at the Delaney house when we believe it was talking about me, like describing me and all this. And it was,
Mhm.
I felt like an emotion from it. It wasn't getting frustrated, but it was getting like, buddy, no, you're not getting it. I kept saying things and saying things. And I think it was based off of what they were saying. And like, they're no, they just don't understand. And then finally I said something. And then in my head, it was just like this big thing. It's like, this is well, I'm talking about you, like you. And then I freaked out a little bit, you know?
Mhm.
And I guess that happens. Also, I guess I freak out when you throw a pillow at me when I'm under. So
He's always gonna bring that up. He's always gonna
I
bring it up.
noticed that you have to be careful bringing you out of S's method.
There's no easy way to do it. There
Right.
really isn't. And
yeah, I'm okay with
the
it.
pillow was supposed to go more to the left. So if everybody listening and watching, it's not abuse. He was fine after
I'm fine.
he laughed after it. I get it. It would scare the crap out of me too. There just isn't an easy way. So I'm sorry.
Right. Right. There really isn't. When you're focused in and tuned in, and then something touches you,
You just
it can be
Mhm.
freaks you out. You know what I mean? So there's really no easy way to bring it out. But I don't know. I thought the pillow was pretty funny myself.
Well, it's funny
I mean,
that came up because
everyone brings it
there's a
up.
guy there's a guy at the vape shop that I go to, and yes, he always like, what are you getting into this weekend? And I told him one time, I said, oh, I'm gonna go stay at some haunted place, and he's like, oh, that's nuts, you know, like, do you have to? I was like, oh, and I told him the quick little backstory, and then he said him and his wife are into that stuff, and he said, hey, do you guys have anything on Instagram or anything? And I just let him scan her business card, and it was a couple weeks later I went in there and he's like, dude, your girl needs to find a better way to get your attention.
I'm
And
never gonna live that down
at
ever.
first I thought, she has my attention. Oh, and then it took me a minute because it's been a couple since then. It took me a minute and I was like, dude, that's really cool. One,
Yeah.
I know this guy, but we didn't know each other before I was a customer there. And I plan on, you know, I'll keep seeing him and we'll probably end up hanging out someday. But then I thought about it on the way leaving. That was like at 20 minutes into a random video and a stack of random videos from a random person. So it's kind of like, I don't know, to me it's pretty cool because like it's one when someone's like, oh yeah, that place looks cool, you know, and that's cool. Thanks for checking it out. But
Yeah.
for somebody to
right.
pick out a detail halfway through it,
That's going to
when
be the most famous thing for
no,
years and years to come. When I
no,
have
I'll
millions of
fall.
followers, that's going to be the one thing I'm never going to be able to live down is that freaking pillow. I
No, we'll
swear.
have to. I'll print
I
you.
thought it was hilarious.
We're going to make a sweatshirt that says a pillow or
Yeah.
like something on it. I
Right.
swear.
Right.
No, I'll fall down some stairs or something probably.
But with what you said though, because I want to add on to the Estes method and then maybe respond to the next question because I know we are on a time frame. But with us going to different locations, it was important to me to not be like every other investigator. And I just want to specify this. I'm not hating on anybody. I think everybody that investigates, we're all a part of a family. We all should support each other. I'm everyone's number one fan, but it was important for me to go to places that nobody's ever been to show people that there's more than just these Trans-Allegheny Hotel, the Waverly Hills, Ohio State Reformatory. Yeah, I'd love to go to those places, but I wanted to do something different, share places with more history, rich history, but also new methods. And our next investigation is going to have a new form of communication that people don't really ever use, which is cool. So, should we just tell them what it's going to be, or should we let them
Sneak
wait?
peek, or are
It's
you
not.
gonna make us
Don't tell
wait?
them.
What?
Just don't tell me where we're going yet.
Okay, so well, it's basically it's a piece of paper. It's got a yes or no and across from each other, and you're gonna have two pencils, one sitting on top, and it basically asks the spirit to move the pencil to the yes or no. It's kind of like its own little Ouija board, you know, but the pencil is sitting on top of the other one, so it's barely teetering, so that the pencil can easily spin and move.
So
That'll
nobody will
be
be
an
touching this.
Nobody will be touching this.
So
It'll be a camera just pointed right at it when I'm talking to it to see if we can get a spirit to move and manipulate. And I think hopefully the spirit's there. She'll be able to
that is
do it
interesting.
because we're staying in the haunted room of the whole entire
Wow.
place. So
Wow. That's an interesting technique. You know, you and I have talked about it a lot, and I know that you do divination tools like dowsing rods, which
I
I listen.
I know.
A lot of these things, divination tools, tarot cards, dowsing rods, things like that. I believe in the right hands, they do work.
Right.
The problem is they're in a lot of wrong hands, and it brings doubt on the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
So they're like I've had tarot readings before from you and Preciously Psychic Sarah, that were very accurate. And I also trust because I know and understand your guys' abilities. So, you know, a lot of the things that you know, like dowsing rods, when people get it in their hands and you can spot that they're faking it, it just brings doubt on everything else. So it's not that I hate them. It's just that it's so easily faked. It's just not a method I want to see anymore.
Oh, and I've showed people, and I think I even have a TikTok video of how people can fake this. Like I've proved it, I've shown it, even with pendulums. I have no problem showing people how to fake it, and then I'm capable of doing it. And that's what makes me and him in this Luna Paranormal so authentic, is that we have no problem saying, oh, that was probably me, or hey, that was probably this. And I get it. You know, you just, unfortunately, we just have to go with blind faith when you don't know somebody. And it kind of sucks because everybody else ruins it for us. And you know, it's people just, I feel like the more you play it up, oh my god, I'm scared, there's a demon, there's this, more people will watch. And unfortunately that's just how it's going to be. And for the rest of us who want to be as authentic as possible, it kind of sucks for us because we don't get as much respect.
So the fact that you're introducing a new idea and there's no human error that can be into it, I think is extremely interesting. Like
I mean, unless you have a fan blowing on it, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of things can be faked, but you know what I mean? Like there's definitely groups out there that I would trust their evidence 100%. You guys being one of them. So I know that because you guys know you don't have to fake it because there's so much real stuff out there that it's genuine coming from you guys. So,
and nobody's ever investigated this place we're going to as well. I mean, awesome. I don't know for sure. I don't think there is a YouTube up of it, but it's yeah.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see you use the new tool.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
I think it'll be awesome. I think it'll be awesome.
We've talked about putting together a video with huge disclaimers, of course, but we're almost at the point where we have enough stuff that, you know, we've debunked that, you know, if we would have left it in, I mean, probably tens of thousands of views, you know, just putting that in like a little thumbnail. It's stuff that scares the crap out of us. Like we had something in the Delaney house. And what's Adam's thing's called? Supernatural. Super paranormal. It's long.
I'll have to just continue.
Our buddy Adam was filming from one side and then we're filming from another. And I'm really picky about being behind the light and all this stuff. And he saw this thing that looked like a supernatural
investigation unit.
Yeah. He found what looked like a black mist, and it was like this black cloud that comes in front of the camera and then like whooshes out, and it just sent stuff crawling down my spine. And she showed it to me. She sent it to me in a message. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. That's why we need more cameras. Also, and then we got through, and when she was doing the editing, it turned out to be a reflection of a shadow,
Of
that
you.
was me.
Yeah.
And I'm behind the light.
I put
and
two different videos side by side from different angles,
yeah,
and as he moved, so did the shadow move at the same
but
time.
it
And I'm
was,
like,
yeah, if we would have left that in,
we could have
people would have
easily left
freaked
it.
out.
We could have
And
easily left it.
yeah, and it's nuts. And if she would have used it like, oh, black demon on the Satan staircase, you know,
Yeah.
and then, you know what I mean? But I
Millions
was like,
of
we
views.
can't use it. We can't use that. There's a lot of stuff that sounds where it's, you know,
Me.
or is it us? But we're not,
Yeah.
and we don't like to be, could have been. But then when I told her, I was like, man, we'll just get enough stuff together and put together like a highlight reel of debunked stuff and just play it through and then be like, this is what it really is.
But I tell him I don't think people are going to want to watch it because they just want to see the, it's
Unfortunately,
hard.
that's true. Unfortunately, that's true. People want to see the, oh my God, it's a demon stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's not just, it's just not realistic. But, something that I do like to see is, hey, look, I caught this evidence and it's in your video. And then you're like, okay, wait a minute. Here's what we figured out it was. Because I think showing people that you should be skeptical and you should be trying to debunk what you catch is important for people to see. So, I mean, absolutely, if it was in your video, me personally, it just lends to your credibility.
Mm-hmm.
I know the average person, they want to see the dramatic stuff. It's just kind of human nature. But I feel more comfortable, like when I'm filming something, to show people the truth,
right,
and lend to my credibility because I'm not willing to compromise that, as opposed to, oh my God, it's a demon.
Yeah.
So I think adding that to a video, I would love to watch it. I mean, there's lots of groups out there that we talk to, and we're all kind of on the same page of, if you can debunk it, debunk it. Show people that, I've seen plenty of things that were, oh my God, this is an orb. Well, no, it's a spider in front of your camera lens really close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's debunk this stuff and let's show people so they don't think that everything is paranormal. Oh, there's an orb. Well, you know what I mean? I just, that's just my personal opinion, that we show the things that
and I'll definitely take that
idea.
into note, and maybe even do that maybe at the end of my videos, like a blooper reel, but instead of a blooper reel, it's like, hey, like what we found that was us but not really us. I can do that for sure. I can take that into consideration.
Right. I think it lends to your credibility if you can say, hey, look, here's what we caught, but here's what it actually was. When we went back and investigated further, I just think it would be great for, not just credibility, but showing the world out there that, not everything's a demon, not everything's paranormal. Relax. Let's check this out. Let's think about this logically. And I think that's a good way to be. But so let me ask you, do you believe in demons?
Yes.
How about you, Noel?
Absolutely.
I don't have any reason not to.
Okay.
I think I personally would feel I was being naive by saying that I didn't believe that something like that could exist.
So you're open to the idea.
Not saying that anybody that doesn't believe him is naive, but I have a thought process around, I don't think that this is it. If this is the best that the universe has, like, come on,
Right.
Not saying that a demon's better, but there has to be, for me, there has to be tons of other things out there that are good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. As in life, so in death.
Yeah.
There's not always nice people alive. There's not always nice spirits in death. Yeah.
And and the demons are I'm going to say they're rare in my mind. You're not really going to come across them as often as you would as a soul in the afterlife, a spirit of somebody who was once living. You're not really going to come across them that often. So just take that into consideration when you're watching stuff on TV.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great answer. So what is your favorite piece of equipment to use when you're investigating?
I love the flashlight. I love the flashlight. Yeah, that's my favorite. The flashlight, and Hands down, flashlight.
How about you, Nolan?
Same. I like the flashlight, and I also like the flashlight when we're using an app as well, especially when it starts to say flashlight and
Right.
or
Flashlight
torch
Corroboration.
goes off.
or
Right.
flicker, and it's making it flicker and saying it
Right. A
like
corroboration from a second
yeah,
equipment is always awesome.
yeah.
So, what's your advice? Now, Luna, I want you to answer this in two ways.
Okay.
Okay. What's your advice to somebody who is getting into paranormal investigating or wants to get into paranormal investigating? And also, as a second part to that, what is your advice to somebody who believes that they may have abilities and they would like to explore that? What should they do?
Okay, so we'll start with the abilities first because that one's a little because I get that often. So if you believe that you have abilities, whether that's your medium, I don't think that anybody on this whole entire planet can tell you whether you're a medium or a psychic except for you and your guides. I think that that is a spiritual path. Obviously we know when people are BS about it, but when it comes to learning about it, I don't think that you can go to a medium and they're just like, you're a medium. That doesn't, that doesn't work. So what I would say is find a community and a group of people that are just yourself. I use this app called Meetup, Meetup. And you download it, and it's basically nationwide. And you can type in psychic mediumship development classes, and you can find classes all over the country via Zoom. You can maybe, if you get lucky, you can walk into one in your actual city. Most of them are free, and you'll be able to hop into these classes with people that are like minded like yourself. Start building that community. If you surround yourself with someone like me or Josh or Nolan who's been doing this for a hot minute, you're going to feel left behind. You're not going to be on the same wavelength as us because we're so far advanced into it. We can't explain the things because Josh, when somebody asks you a question, you can't just explain it. You just have to go through it to understand it. So sometimes it's nice to go through that with people who are going through the same levels as you. So find a community, start there, build your abilities. If you find yourself not building them, that means you're not serious about it. It's not something you want to do. It's not something I can make happen, you can make happen, or him can make happen. It's just between you and your spiritual path. And that is a very intimate thing that we all have to go through by ourselves. So find that community of new babies going into this that you can do together, because to not feel like you're going crazy is so important. Because when I first started, I didn't really know that, and I felt so alone and so crazy. But now I don't, because obviously the stuff I was feeling, other people do too. So
Right.
that's what I would do with the psychic mediumship part of it, growing it. But don't ever let anybody tell you you can't or not. And as far as the paranormal investigation, somebody wanting to get into it, don't get caught up. And this is my number one thing I'm going to say: don't get caught up on being famous. Don't get caught up on needing to be known or being the best or being friends with the best. Just be your authentic self. Try to do something so different that nobody else has ever seen, because you know what? In that case, you're not special. That doesn't make me special. That doesn't make you special when we do the same exact thing everyone else does. You're just another person competing. So, what I would say is, not that I'm saying you're not special, I'm just saying in the field, you don't become unique. Find something that makes you unique. Blow everybody out of the water, but don't become so obsessed in being Zach Baggins or being famous or being this person, because you know what, the reality of us being on a TV show is very slim to none. And unfortunately, I'm going to be that person that's going to rip the rug right out from underneath you. You got to be in this because you freaking love it. Like Nolan said, you can't be in it for the views, for the attention, because I'm the best or I got this. It doesn't matter. You got to do it because you love it and you respect the dead and have that relationship with them. And that is my advice to everyone. And anybody who might hate what I have to say, it's the truth. And we all know it is the truth. I just don't think a lot of us say it because we're afraid of the backlash that comes from that. So, and also be very careful in the paranormal community. There's a lot of frauds and fakes within the community that use you and try to feed off of you. And I would say that if you're going to get into this, do this by yourself and really build that trust with somebody before you start doing it with them, because a lot of people can look like they're an innocent deer in front of you, but they're really the snake that's going to bite you. So don't trust everybody with everything you say. So to become famous in this field is very difficult. And I'm just gonna say it like that. I know somebody watches and be like, "Wow, she's not nice," but it's true. And I say this from my own personal experiences. So take that as you may. No disrespect to anybody. I
Right.
wish everybody the best.
Right.
Um,
And I would add to that that if you're really serious about, at least trying this out, maybe meet up with somebody who's reputable
right,
and see if they can, you know, show you the way, or let you go on an investigation and kind of hold your hand through it, basically.
right,
Uh,
right.
Offer to hold the camera.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff that happens. We're in these places 8, 10, 12 hours. So there's lots of stuff to do, lots of downtime. So
mhm,
asking somebody if they can just kind of show you to see if you even want to do this
right.
is a good idea too. But
It's a cutthroat industry, Josh, and I think you would agree.
I
It's
agree.
a
I
lot of people will try to tear you down. A lot of people want to be the best, and you have to have very thick skin to be in this industry, especially being a female. And I'm not throwing the female card out there, but I'm just saying, even being a female within the industry, it's a very male dominated industry. And, if you're going to get into it, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. You're welcome to reach out to Nolan or Josh. All of us are going to have advice for you if you really are interested. We can find a paranormal investigation team around you that we know is very reputable. And obviously what we say isn't always what's going to go. I don't think I'm the best paranormal investigator out there. I actually know I'm not. I'm nowhere near, but I do know that I'm going to do what's in your best interest to help you, because I've
right.
made all the mistakes for you. So just be
Yes,
very careful who you talk to.
20 years of investigating, I've made a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
especially in the
Yeah.
beginning. So
Hmm.
I can help guide you through that. Now I think I know what your answer is going to be on this particular question, but I want to hear your point of view of why. Should mediums be on investigative teams?
Oh, this is going to make me into the biggest contradiction ever. Okay, so I get some backlash and some comments on my YouTube video from this. No, I don't think so.
Really?
Um, I don't know. Um, I want to say yes and no. I think that there's a place for them and there's a place not for them. And everyone's be like, well, she's a medium. How could she say that? But when you're a paranormal investigator, our job is to investigate the truth. It is not to point out and say, that's haunted, that's haunted, that's haunted, that's haunted. That's not our job. That's a ghost hunter. A paranormal investigator has got to get down to the absolute truth. And if there's nothing else that can make sense, it's got to be paranormal. I think there's a lot of paranormal investigation teams that really rely on mediums for some of their evidence to corroborate with their other evidence that they get. I think we rely too much on mediums, then it doesn't become an investigation anymore. It just becomes all of the details and all of the truth. And I think that that takes away from the investigation standpoint. Now, I will say, and I know Nolan will agree with me on this, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yes.
But when we do investigations, there are some people that say, well, if you're a medium, why do you use you know your devices? And I said, that's an absolutely wonderful question. Like, I think that that makes sense why you're asking that, because in this investigation, I'm a paranormal investigator. I try to put my mediumship to the side. There are some that I did that were mediumship led, like the Delaney house, where I used my mediumship. We went into it not telling me anything, and through my mediumship abilities, with a little bit of help from the devices, we led that mediumship wise. So it's very plain where I'm going to use my mediumship and where I'm a paranormal investigator. I don't think the two should always go hand in hand. We rely too much on mediums. Not that that's a bad thing, but for me it is, because then it just takes away from paranormal investigating altogether.
Right. And I've been asked the same question of why are you using equipment if you're a medium? And my answer is always, well, because you can't hear what's in my head.
Right.
You can't see what I see with my eyes.
And we also don't know everything.
Right. Yeah. So I that actually, I'm going to be honest with you, that's not the answer I thought you would give.
Really?
Really,
Okay.
it's not. And because you and I have relied heavily on our mediumship together in a case before, so it's not the answer I thought you were going to give. But
I really,
it makes a
I'm a
lot of sense.
paranormal investigator.
It
I
makes a lot of
honestly,
sense.
Yeah, I mean, I love my mediumship abilities, but to be honest, and this might hurt me a little bit by saying this, I don't want to talk to your loved ones. It's not that I don't want to and it's not important. It's just there's so many other mediums that are just mediums that do that are not paranormal investigators. My passion is to go into a place, find the history, find out what these people went through, talk to them. That's why I want to use my mediumship. I want to feel them and understand what they went through, and then through my evidence and my devices and my machines, give you that evidence. I will always say first, I'm a paranormal investigator before a medium. Now, maybe when I'm doing my tarot, I'm a psychic medium at that point because I'm not trying to investigate a haunting, but I truly would rather be an investigator than a medium any day.
I would tend to agree with you. The only problem is all the investigations I've been on since I've developed and understood it more. Like I've had lots of instances on other cases before I really understood what was going on with me. But um, I I don't always have the choice. I was on an investigation with one of my team members, Allison, and we were in an abandoned church. We were using equipment. Both of us, Allison is a very strong intuitive that I think picks up on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The mediumship part came through when I wasn't trying. I was seeing things and I can't help. I can't help that. So what I did was when I got that feeling or if I saw something, I investigated it. So I think the investigator part takes over and says, okay, well, let's figure out what this is. Let's get to the truth. Let's show everybody else who can't see what I'm seeing what this actually is. So it's a very surprising answer, to be honest with you, from you, but I don't disagree with you one bit.
What do you think about mediums and investigations now that you've been with one and investigated?
I'm not going with anybody else, so
What?
I
Well,
mean,
do you think that mediumships can ruin investigations if
mm,
we're specifically relying on them too much?
well, I mean, if we were just to go out and investigate just to investigate, I think it'd be totally fine. But if we're trying to document it and make it something for people to watch, you're literally giving a tour of a building,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So,
You're
but then
leading
if there's something to, there's something to back it up,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
because I honestly feel that mediumship is a good tool. It's like your other tools. We have SB7s, SB11s, we have voice recorders, we've got flashlights, we have the Estes method, we have tripwires. I think mediumship, it can be a tool, and I agree with you that sometimes that's overused,
Mhm.
where people rely. Oh, well, the medium said, the medium said, the medium said, and I don't personally want to be the medium that everybody goes, well, the medium said.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one
It's
that said,
annoying.
you know
It's
what I mean? Like
annoying.
it kind of is. The problem with mediumship is often we have to prove ourselves, which I'll be
do
honest with
tricks.
you, I hate. Yeah, I hate having to do it. But the unfortunate truth is, I have to
You
sometimes.
have to. It
You have
comes with
to.
the title. Yeah. Because there's
People,
so many fakes and frauds out there.
right? And people aren't going to trust what you and I do unless we prove it, right? Like,
Right.
and you have to look at it from their standpoint, where you're evidence based. Okay, well, the medium said this. Can we corroborate that?
Right.
And when we do, it lends their trust to, well, maybe there is something to this person. And I've had to do that with other teams that I've investigated with, and I'm sure you can tell plenty of stories of having to prove yourself because
Oh,
everybody wants
yes.
to prove yourself.
The thing is I'm not mad at people for asking that because I would do the same thing if I was in your position. It's just how you ask it and how you go about it are just two different things. But for me, I totally understand and I totally get why you do it. Continue to do it. But we just complain because we have to go through it all the time. But it's
Right.
just part of the job and we know it. And guess what? If you have to prove it, why are you complaining about it? You shouldn't complain, because it should be easy for you to,
Right.
give that evidence, which I'm fine with. But it's like he said, do a trick. And I'm like, it's not that simple. Maybe I'm not picking up anything right now,
That's the way it feels a lot, is like we're the grinder monkey. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We have
He's
to.
seen it happen to me a handful of times, and it's just, and I look at him and I roll my eyes and I was like, I really hope something comes through. I'm just like, oh God, here we go. And I always tell people, don't put me on the spot like that, and they will. And
I think we've all had to do it. There's been times where I've been like, look, this is what's going to happen. You're about to get touched. You're going to get a really weird feeling on your hand. And they're like, what are you talking about? And then it happens. And they're like, oh shit, he just called it.
yeah.
Well, I kind of am a medium. So
I kind of am. So there you go. Yep, I'm going to bow now.
I'm connecting to your loved one, and I tell them about, the pocket watch that your dad had. And this is a true story, but the pocket watch that your dad had that had something written on the back, and it had jewel incrustations that were inside the workings. And I was very specific about that. How did you know? Well, I'm kind of a medium. It's but you have to do those things. You have to be specific when you're a medium, because people, I don't think they can trust you until you do.
And that's okay. And I'm totally fine with that. And I'll prove it every time. But like I said, it's how you ask is the huge thing.
True. Right. There is a very rude way to ask for proof. Usually we give it without having to be asked most times, but so let me ask you, what is your idea or your opinion? What's the difference between a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator?
A ghost hunter chases the views, the thrills, the laughs, the screams, the fake evidence. Not that I'm saying every single ghost hunter is like that, but I'm saying most of them, like Zach Baggins, for instance. It's all about the demons and like, oh my God, and like, it's all about the theatrics, and where a paranormal investigator is all about the evidence. And we go in there and we learn about the history, what it was, what's happened on the property, and then we investigate. And when we get evidence, it's our job to figure out an actual explanation of something happening besides paranormal. And if we can't, then we can say it's paranormal. And that's the difference between the two. One is just, in for the thrills and the screams, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And just so everybody knows, I'm going to say it again, I don't care. That's totally cool if that's what you want to do. But between me and you, we're very different people. I actually want to present the history and make sure that what I'm presenting is real and authentic. And that's the difference in my mind, between the two.
How about you, Nolan? What do you think?
That also, I think if you're a ghost hunter, you kind of already have your mind made up. And I think that if you have that in your head, that you're chasing a ghost, even though, I mean, there could be the same thing a little bit if you start taking it apart.
Yeah.
But if you have it in your head that you are hunting for something, then I think that anything that happens, are you going to put in the work to debunk it or put the history into play? And also, are you going to go through that amount of work? I mean, even people that fake stuff, it has to be difficult, I mean, sure, if you have a big budget, it's probably easy to have somebody throw something across the room, they're just standing there. But, we watch some people have some YouTube favorites, and they might, have like a more intense vibe as far as like what you might be witnessing in this episode. But then every episode's an hour, and it's just nonstop, like pretty like legit
it's
stuff.
Evidence.
So I don't know. I think if you're chasing that, I don't know if I could say destination fear.
Yeah, you can say that.
So we watched that. I was kind of pumped on it, but then I immediately was thinking like, why do you turn a REM pod on, and then as soon as one light goes off, you scream at it and tell it to please stop? But then it's a experiment based on fear, and then my natural vibe with it was, okay, well, let's see how that's going for you. Oh, you guys just stay at scary places, and then that's the experiment. Like, if you can make it all night, is that it?
Right. It's not the evidence. It's about
Yeah.
and you control your fear.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Then I kind of was like, well, let me see your Apple Watch. I want to see your heart rate. What's your blood pressure? Like, show me stuff,
Right.
so that I know. I mean, I know that you're scared out of your mind because that's scary, but and that's their thing, and so it got to the point for me after I think after like 3 episodes where for me it was I want to see how they filmed this and where are they going. And then that's how I got through it because, anytime she's even said like, oh, maybe I need to just scream bloody murder anytime the flashlight goes off. And I was like, one,
Oh,
you're gonna be doing these by
Oh,
yourself more often. and and two, like, I don't think necessarily like you have to sell it. It's
yeah.
a slow burn for patient people to
Hmm.
be willing to watch something for 10 minutes and not have grandma's china fly across the room and break
Right.
on the wall or whatever.
Like legit, if that happened right now, I think I'd be like, that just happened. And most people be like, oh my God, and it's like, I realized and I told him, I said, I am so dry in my investigations because when things happen, I'm just like, cool, can you do that again? And I realized that I gotta actually put my emotions into it and stop being so dry because I know it's not shocking to me, but it is to other people. And I realize that's something I do have to work on, not faking it by any means, but like there are times where I get a little scared and I choose not to show it because I'm trying to be that tough investigator when I realize I need to be more true to myself and show those emotions because part of being an investigator is getting the shit scared out of you, like throwing a pillow at somebody and watching them jump 10 feet. It's like true emotions. And I realize that. So going forward investigations, you guys are going to start seeing me open up a little bit more to that side. So where does the line draw between ghost hunter and paranormal investigator? I just think that there's such a wide line between the two and what you would consider. But
I think we get desensitized because we go out searching for experiences and we
right.
understand we're looking for that. So when it happens, we're just like, okay, that's awesome. Let's get some more.
I almost have to
Tell the
give
story.
myself permission to be scared because I don't want to be known as fake. And I realize that I don't need, it's so weird. The stigma is what's getting to us. And I don't think people realize like you have a stigma behind an investigator in this. And it's like when you're scared, it's like, oh, you're scared because you're a girl or like this and that. And I realized, dude, I'm scared because I'm scared. That was
Right.
terrifying. And
Something just flew
so
by
I've got
my
to
head.
I've got to stop doing that. I've got to stop putting on that wall of trying to be, the big tough girl, but I'm not. And I realized I got to stop doing that because it's actually, I think it's ruining my videos and it's ruining the experience for other people because you want people to experience and feel what it feels like to be there.
Right.
And that's hard to do too without completely overselling it. And I think you can tell when people oversell it.
Well, I think there's a
Truly.
difference between being genuine with your emotions and being dramatic or overly dramatic with your emotions. Like this.
Screaming at the REM pod every single time it goes off. Well, that's what it's supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's been times where I've been on investigations and I have been fearful. I've been out in the middle of the woods and have been scared out of my mind, but I keep moving forward because that's what I'm looking for. Not the fear of it, but when I feel that way, let's catch this on camera. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you have to suppress that. And I think we kind of desensitize ourselves because
Yeah.
we go out looking for this.
It's true. It's
I try
tough.
not to be too dry. Like, if something
I'm
scares
very dry.
it's just not a lot scares me anymore after
Yeah.
20 years. It's
Same.
kind of, well, cool. That's awesome. Now let's
Yeah.
tell the rest of the story. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there are times where, something's happened and I've been like, whoa, shit, what the hell was that? Like it legitimately scares you, but
I've screamed
jump
bloody
scares
murder
you.
before, but unfortunately it wasn't caught on camera because we weren't taping at the time. And it made the other people I was investigating with jump 10 feet that direction, the person being like, what is wrong with you? And I'm just like, you scared their shit out, you
Right.
know? So there's been times, guys, it's happened. I know that you've never seen it, but it's happened. And, it's
Well,
just
too,
Off camera.
I
off
try to
camera.
tell people, especially, when they're newer in the game, is you can actually get people hurt by reacting that way.
Yeah.
If you're around 4 or 5 people and all of a sudden you jet, you have to remember you're out here in the dark. You're either going to hurt yourself, run into somebody else, hurt them, knock them down, knock yourself down.
Right.
You
Fall
have
through
to,
a floor somewhere. Yeah.
right. And it may not even have been paranormal. It just may have been scary.
Right.
Something freaked you out.
Right.
I know there's been times where I've seen you investigate where a bat flies by your head. I've seen that, and you're just like, holy shit, what was that?
Yeah. Because it comes out of nowhere and you don't expect
Right.
something to be this close to your face and then go that direction. But once
Right.
I realized what it was like, oh, it's just a bat. He's not going to hit me,
Right.
but
The jump scare to it because you're not
yeah.
expecting something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so let me ask you, what would be your advice to somebody that says, look, I have tried this out. I want to do this for myself. I want to go out and try to find the truth about the paranormal, the afterlife. What would be your advice as to what a good base of starting tools would be to start out?
Of just starting out being a paranormal investigator and actually wanting to do it.
Right. What would you, if when you started out, what would be the best advice yourself now could tell yourself then of what you should start with?
Oh boy.
Bare bones kind of stuff.
Yeah. So TikTok, don't do it. Don't do TikTok. I'm sorry. I know that it's, millions of people will see you, but this is advice that I've always said to people. If I could tell myself going back 4 years, I know it's been 4 years, do not do TikTok. If you want this to be, for one, a life thing, you want to make money doing it, you want to make this your career, it's okay. And I think there's also a stigma between the paranormal, the spiritual side, where if you do money for it, you're not a good person. You're chasing the fame, and that's not it. It's just where the blurred lines are and what it is you're trying to do. If you're only focused on your numbers and stuff, but I think if this is something you want to do for a living, we'll start with that. Go to YouTube, start building your content, start building that platform, because that's something where you can, for one, control. Because when you're on TikTok, you can get blocked, you can get banned, you can get viewed from other people just not liking the way you look today. And that really hurts, and you can lose all of your following. So I think building a platform elsewhere where you have complete control over it is a really good idea. You can have creative control over it. If you want to have a TikTok, that's fine, but I just wouldn't focus completely on it because there are thousands of paranormal investigators you're fighting with on there. And usually it's a huge democracy. I would honestly start within your hometown. Every place that you go is going to be haunted. Every single piece of land you go, there's somewhere where in your town it's been haunted. I would go to places like cemeteries. I know that that seems boring, but you got to start somewhere. I started in cemeteries, and then you start building that community of people where you start finally finding people that are your friends, people within the community you can start working with. They'll give you ideas, but you're going to have to spend money to go to these places. So stay close. All you need is a cell phone and the mic on your phone, a little light, and just very few. And people think you need to have all of this equipment. Being a paranormal investigator, it's not about the equipment. I'm going to say that again. It's not about the equipment. It's about the history. It's about how you can tell the story, how you can open the book and make it feel like people are there with you. You're there to give the dead a voice, and it's the voice of truth. So if you cannot do that, you should not be investigating. If you're looking at just devices only and the most expensive ones, you're probably a ghost hunter at that point, which is perfectly fine. But all you need is a piece of pen, paper, go to the library, figure out what it is, and your cell phone, and that's it. I would start by trying to be as authentic as you can with where you're at. Do you want me to dig a little deeper into it, or is that's good?
No, that's fine. Just what
Okay.
your advice would be to start out as far as equipment that you might want.
Just really figure out what it is that you want to do. Do you want to do this for a living? Start on YouTube. If you're going to do paranormal investigations, get a mag flashlight. It's about $14. Not the one that clicks, the one that turns, a normal mag flashlight. Get a K2 meter. I think those are about $22. And if you want to start with a spirit box, get the SB7. That one's about $80. It's the cheapest one you can get. Make sure to get a little speakerphone that plugs in, because the SB7 volume is trash, so that everybody else can hear it. I would say those two. If not, download an app. Necrophonic is my favorite. It's $10 and you get to keep it for the rest of your life. I would say those three major things because it gives you three different tools to use. Those are the cheapest way to start at it, and then basically you just build to your repertoire from there, and you just get the cat balls and whatever it is. But it's a very expensive hobby. it's extremely expensive. And like I said, it's not about the devices, it's about the person telling the story, um, and how you can make sure that what they're hearing is the truth. um, I think you just need yourself and your phone, honestly, is the best tools.
To be honest with you, I agree. I've had thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and I've gotten rid of most of it. Most of what I use, I can keep in one little box.
Mm-hmm.
I have some mini REM devices, a voice recorder, rather than a K2 meter, which I know everybody loves to use K2 meters, because they're very visual. But I would actually go as far as, for about the same price, you can get a digital EMF detector.
Mm-hmm.
It'll
Yeah.
tell you actual levels, because
Cool.
knowing levels, 20 milligauss of EMF can have a much different effect than 150 milligauss of EMF.
Mm-hmm.
When you get up there in the 150 milligauss, you're talking about things that can actually affect human responses.
Right.
So a digital EMF detector is probably would be my advice as far as over a K2. And there you can get them for about the same price, maybe a few dollars more.
Mm-hmm. And get creative. Like I said, that whole pencil thing we're doing, like you don't
Right.
need, and that could be the most, is watching a pencil go like this, and you're just like, that would get everyone's attention. So get creative, get a balloon, hang it from the ceiling, see if they can move the balloon, do anything, get
Right.
creative, try to be different and unique from me and everyone else. That's what's going to get you to stand out and also be more authentic. And people are going to pay attention to that, and they're going to want to see it. They'll be like, what are they doing with this balloon? What are they doing with those pencils? I've never seen that before. I
Right.
didn't have a K2 meter for like a year and a half, and I was fine with not having one.
Right.
But I realized it was something I needed to have as part of my equipment so that I could at least do a baseline reading everywhere I went first, to make sure that there was no fluctuation here or there that could. There's a lot that goes into it. A lot.
Right.
So
Another thing that I would imagine you would agree with me on is do some research about the theories of the paranormal, what paranormal is. Um, Learn how people fake things.
oh yeah.
That's been a very good tool for me. I don't know if you would agree, but learn how
Oh yeah.
people fake things so you can spot
Hmm.
something that's not quite genuine. I'll just say, instead of fake, not quite genuine.
I think a lot of my fans or followers, and I hate even saying that, or my family in the paranormal, the one thing that they really liked about me was because I called out the BS real quick. I mean, obviously you get hate for it, but I was willing to show, what was real, what was not real, what was authentic, and what wasn't. I have no problem calling it out. I will purposely take my device and I will be like, this is how you can fake it. And I'll smack it against something, set it on something. Um, so just be authentic, really. Don't turn into one of those people that fake things.
You don't
It's
have
not
to.
worth it.
You don't have to.
When you
There's
get
so
the real
much out there.
evidence, it's so cool. It is so cool, and it speaks for itself.
Right. I completely agree. So, one thing I did want to, you and I have talked about this a while back. It's been quite a while, but um, let me get your opinion on orbs. How do you
Um,
feel about orbs?
yeah,
Because orbs is a touchy subject for a lot of
it's
investigators.
so touchy. I hate answering this question because I get so much backlash for it, but orbs can only be seen through the lenses of cameras. Okay. So if you've seen one by your eyes, I'm calling BS. All right now. You cannot physically, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe you have seen balls of light, those type of anomalies, but I've never seen orbs with your own eyes. I'm sorry. I just say that you can only see them. I'm calling BS on it. That's just how I feel. I've
You can
never
only
seen
see
one
them
with
through
my
the
own eyes
camera.
before. I've only seen them through the camera. I have never physically seen them with my own eyes. I've been in fields where people will go and just investigate orbs and they come up from everywhere. And it's like, I have not been able to see one with my own eye. I have actually seen balls of light with my own eye, which is pretty freaky, which might be the same exact thing. Orbs, though, you're going to know when you catch one because the way they move is so smooth and they've got no particular direction. A bug, is going to do some weird stuff and fly really fast. Dust is going to usually fall. Yes, orbs exist. orbs, I believe, are us seeing the entity itself. That is how it's presenting itself at the time, and that is how it's moving from one side to the next. A part of it is what I believe. I don't know. I love orbs. We caught so many at the Delaney house. It was insane. I couldn't even put them all up on I couldn't even put the circle on all of them. There were so many of them. You know, just really, once you find an orb, you're going to know. I don't know. But yeah, orbs, I believe, are actual spirits showing themselves in that form. That's my take on orbs.
Right. How about you, Nolan? What do you think of orbs?
I see them because I'm usually on this side of the camera, and then I believe I can tell if it's a real one or not, just even before looking back at the footage. But for me, it's, you know, if you're in an attic, there's a lot of dust. And
right.
If you're in an old building in the summertime with the windows, or if it has windows, it's
right.
probably going to be bugs. So, you know.
You know, here's something I tell especially newer investigators or people that don't have a lot of experience with orbs. I'm not a huge fan of them. I believe that they are real. I believe that orbs do happen. And I believe that is a manifestation of a spirit moving. Unfortunately, though, 99% of what you catch on your camera is dust.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a fan on. Your house breathes. Dust moves around your house. Your animal runs. Dust comes up. Bugs happen, and you catch them on your camera. I think that a true orb you can see with your own eyes.
There you go. And that's how rare it is, because I've never seen one with my own eyes before.
Now, there are some, I think, because of the spectrum, the light spectrum, that our eyes can't pick up, do get caught with camera, and you don't see them with your own eyes. But I believe, because I've seen orbs, I've seen balls of light with my own eyes, and then I turn the camera on to see it, to film it, like, what the hell is this? But I think true orbs you can see with your own eyes. I also think that a true orb you can see through a camera, because we can't always see the same light spectrum.
Right.
But there is a very distinct detail to an actual orb as opposed to dust or a bug, even moisture. If you're outside and you're catching orbs, you might consider moisture droplets in the air that you can't see.
Right.
But the light from your camera refracts off of them and you see them. So I think that's it's a big deal. But we differ a little bit in that. I think you can see true orbs. I think you also can see true orbs in a camera that you can't see with your eyes.
Yeah, I've seen balls of light before. One has woke me up in my face before. So I definitely know that they exist. You can see, but I think balls of light and orbs are a little different in my mind. But yeah, orbs, usually I'll never really pay much mind to them, even when they're on the camera, until I get back into editing, and I'll just be like, wow, that's a true orb. Yeah, we definitely caught something. So
sometimes they do stuff too. I feel like this entire podcast is just plugging the one Delaney video.
Yeah.
But,
go check out part 1, part 2 on YouTube.
She joked around about having a counter and like circling everyone and having a tally. And then we joked around about us trying to count really well, and then saying that we'd do like a giveaway or something for whoever got the right number if they counted and follow along.
I couldn't even guess anymore.
But there's one specific orb. She's sitting on a couch. She cringes and looks over her shoulder as the orb's coming around. That comes around the front of the couch, and there's a REM pod and a flashlight, and I think that they both went off as it went by it.
Right.
So that was like the holy shit was like
corroboration.
You know,
that's the corroboration of evidence.
Yeah.
If
I
you
don't
catch something,
love seeing them. What's that?
If you can catch something and your other devices can corroborate that, like you saw an orb, your REM pod went off. That's an actual orb.
Yeah. Yeah. That was pretty real. But for me, if I even think it's dust, I won't even worry about it. I won't even make any point to be like, look.
Well, guys, I have enjoyed talking to you, and we've been talking for quite a while. And, you know, I always love talking to you, but I really enjoyed actually hearing Nolan's point of view, because I don't know Nolan as well.
Yeah.
So
nice.
and I hope that changes, Nolan. I hope, especially since we're going to be investing together in April, that we can actually work together and
Definitely.
you can see my special stuff that I do.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
very
he's a great
interested
investigator.
in between the three of us. I'm very interested in doing the Estes method with you guys. Like that
Yeah.
is something that really excites me, is having you guys around and doing the S's. Now I do it a little differently because of the way, I have a lot of hearing loss. So in order for me to hear, I can't have the volume quite as loud, but you're still going to have headphones on. So I'm not going to hear what you're saying, right?
Right.
But I can't have the volume completely up because that it's so loud it rings and I won't understand anything that might come through.
Right.
But I'm very excited to investigate with you guys. We're going to be, if you guys don't know or haven't heard, Luna Paranormal, Lizzie and Nolan, myself, the PSI team, all three members, and we are going to have a beginning investigator that's going to be along with us as well. And I have my junior investigator. We're going to be going to Broken Bow, Alabama in April, and we are going to investigate Broken Bow Asylum. So I'm really excited to have you guys come. I can't wait for April to come, and
I know.
feels like it's forever away.
I know.
Like, hurry up already.
I know. This place is going to be so creepy. I already have some premonitions about this place.
I have two, and we'll have to get together when we get there and trade thought on.
One of us is going to see something, just so you know. One of us is going to see something.
I think that's a very good likelihood. I've also got some things that come through that I don't think get advertised.
Yeah.
A spirit that is around that they don't show or advertise for their thing. But I'm really excited to get there to investigate with you guys. So come on, April. Come on.
I know, right?
Ooh,
can't wait. But we're not giving out the date we're going to be there, right? That's dangerous. We're not saying it, right?
That location will be protected, so it's not like somebody could just crash it. So we'll give out the date at a later time, but it will be in April. I will be doing a live as long as the signal is good. I'll be doing a live on TikTok. You will be doing recording for your YouTube. And I'll be kind of doing both. So I'll be gathering evidence with you guys to do both YouTube and TikTok, but so you can see what we see live. But I'm really excited to get there. I can't wait for you guys to build your travel van so you can travel around and put all these episodes.
Can't see the knuckles, but it's coming along.
Yeah, Lizzie was telling me that you've been working really hard getting flooring in and getting everything situated so you guys have a way to get around. Like this is such an awesome idea to me. Says I just you going around, and I can't wait to see the video you catch, not just with me, which I'm super excited about, but I am really excited about seeing what you catch at the other places that you guys stop at. Like I'm invested at this point.
I'm excited. Like I'm excited for the whole thing. Like I said, guys, there's going to be a handful, like more than a handful of investigations. So if you want to look it up, it's Finding Unknown on YouTube. If not, you can just go to lunaparanormal.com. That's LUNA paranormal.com to find all of my links. If you guys don't subscribe, you're crazy, because we are literally traveling across the country in a camper van to go paranormal investigating. And
so awesome.
And you can also follow along on our Instagram. We also have an Instagram where we're building it, so you guys can follow along with that and everything. It's all on my link tree and all that. So please go follow. Like we're excited. We're very excited. So.
And I'm just gonna say, and I know other people have told you this before too. If you don't listen to her podcast, you're missing out on the best ASMR voice ever.
He is my number one fan.
Voice, for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh wow.
It starts with the introduction. It's just that tone of voice is such good ASMR. I'm telling you, but not that the subjects that you cover aren't interesting as well. But
coming 2024, my own ASMR channel.
Right. I keep telling you, you need to do ASMR. You'd have 1 million followers doing it, but So
my
check
God.
out our podcast. If you want to do tarot readings, you can check her out when she's doing lives on TikTok. She does tarot readings and stuff like that.
I also do private readings as well, so you can book with me through my link
Right.
tree.
If you go
Yep.
through her website, you can book private readings. There's no reason or way that you can miss all the different ways you can pick up Luna Paranormal content. Okay.
That's true.
It's everywhere. It's friggin' everywhere. And if you're not watching it, I'm telling you, you're missing out. Not only saying that because you're my family, but I'm saying that because I really enjoy listening and seeing your content. Okay.
Thanks.
But I really appreciate you guys coming and just getting to know Luna Paranormal, which, we don't always get to see the behind the scenes of who the people really are. So I really enjoyed our talk today. I really appreciate you guys taking all the time that we have to get this together. I can't say enough good about Luna Paranormal and what you guys do. So make sure you're checking her out. Okay. Plus, guys, while we're still here, I want you to remember that we also have a podcast going, in case you haven't noticed. You should be listening to it right now. And I want to interact with the folks out there and hear your stories. So if you would please, if you have a paranormal story, please send me an email, paranormalscienceinvestigators@gmail.com. It can be anonymous. You don't have to give me your name. You can tell me, I want this to be anonymous. Send me your stories and I will read them on the show and get a collection of stories of things that people don't quite understand. So without further ado, I really appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys much success in your travels, especially when you come investigate with me. I'm so excited.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the show. And remember, we want to hear from you. Do you have questions about the paranormal, about mediumship? Do you have a story of an experience you just can't explain? Well, do us a favor. Email us at paranormalscienceinvestigators@gmail.com. And your question or story may end up on the show. And if you'd like to see our video content, you can check us out on YouTube at paranormal_investigators or on TikTok with the same name. Or if you'd like to do Instagram, it's Josh_paranormal_investigators. Come check out our video content of actual paranormal investigations and our everyday content. Just look for the yellow PSI logo. Thank you again. We'll see you on the next episode. Love y'all. Bye-bye.